Hello, welcome to CRE Radio and TV. I'm your host, Howard Klein, and today we're going to be doing one of our icons of real estate with Albert Baritz. Did I pronounce that correctly, Albert?
Absolutely, Howard.
Good. All right. So we're going to be talking about really how he got into the real estate business, what his greatest influences have been, and what's going on in real estate for him right now. Albert, by the way, is the CEO, co-owner, and managing member of the McKinney Companies, which is a real estate investment enterprise which owns over $4.5 billion. That's with a B. Of real estate portfolio with over 1,000 full-time staff members and 20,000 apartment units. Albert and I first got involved and we met each other. We're not really involved, but we met each other. I'm thinking about 8, 9, or 10 years ago at a. Let me just switch so we can get you on the scene. Hello, Albert.
Okay. There you go.
Yeah, I want to tell this story because as you can see, I'm wearing a bow tie.
I know.
And
I should have worn mine today. I didn't wear mine.
Yes, you should have. You should have. And I tied this, which relates to the story because when we
Yes.
met, I interviewed you in Anaheim, I believe it was, where for the local apartment association, I think.
Orange County.
Right, Orange County. And while we were talking, you were getting yourself ready to do the interview, and your assistant handed you a bow tie, and you were tying your bow tie. And at the time, I just had clip-ons. I didn't know how to tie a bow tie. I've
Yeah.
since had to learn how to tie a bow tie, and I much prefer it because
Ah,
it's
wonderful.
not
That's
it's not perfect when I tie my bow ties.
that's
So,
okay.
needless to say, I was very impressed with you. So, before we go on further, why don't I just remind everybody that if you enjoy this video, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, which will give you all of the warnings. I shouldn't say it that way, of all of the live and other interviews that I do. So, Albert, why don't we start with the questions? Why don't I first find the questions? Uh, Gosh, as I'm fooling around here. And so, where's my questions? Hold on a second. Ah, there we are. Maybe I shouldn't have done this live. Okay, here are the questions. So, why don't we start out with this, Albert?
Sure.
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the McKinney Companies and how it got to have over a $4.5 billion real estate portfolio?
Yeah, we're an old-fashioned owner operator. My partner started the business in 1968. We've been together since 1982. And our business again is we're kind of a dinosaur in today's world because we're just that. We're a family-owned business. We're a generational business. All the assets that we own for the long term, and we don't dispose of. With some exceptions, strategically, we've gotten out of the retail business for reasons that are obvious. So we get up every single morning and we work hard and we try to make our customer experience an extraordinary one. And we're blessed because we've got some amazing people that are terrific at what they do.
I think that you're the perfect example of lead by example. Yeah, I don't know you that well, but what I know of you, you're an awfully nice person. And it seems that you treat your employees and everyone around you really, really well. Why don't you tell me a little bit about your attitude in that respect?
Well, I think anything that we can do as a leader to make our people more effective and to be really servant leaders so that they can be the best they can be in front of our customers, that's what leadership's all about. I mean, I mean, I can't make a difference sitting here talking to you. I mean, we have, 40,000, over 40,000 people living with us tonight, and those people are touched every day by our people, and even more complicated in today's world where, our connections are significantly virtual. So, if we're doing our job right as a leader or as leaders in our business, we're doing whatever we can to support them, because they're really the most important people in the business, people at the front lines, people who are touching our customers every day. And if they're delivering an extraordinary experience, then we've done our job. And so, my job is to make their job, easy and effective to do, and give them all the tools, and also, make them feel good about what they're doing, and feeling empowered. And we delegate a significant amount of our responsibilities and decision making to the front line. We've got some people that have been with us, leading our business in the field for many years, and I trust them. And if I'm doing my job, I'm supporting them and getting out of the way.
Whoops, that's the wrong video. There we go. Well, that makes sense, and you haven't said anything that surprised me. Who who was perhaps I should say, the most important and influential people in your life? It could be more than one, but why don't we start out with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think anybody who's is starting out in business today would be well served by having mentors. I certainly couldn't have done what I have done in my career without people that really allowed me to propel my career in a different way, had I not had the good fortune of finding them and interacting with them. I've got three extraordinary mentors in my life, and two are still alive and one is not. The first one's my father, who's not alive, but we immigrated from Cuba in 1959 because of the communist regime that took over the country in that year. And my dad did many things. First of all, he got us here, which was an important thing to get us here alive, and for that I will be forever grateful. But after many years of struggling, he was able to recreate a small real estate business, compared to what he had in Cuba, and he was a great life lesson to me of what it is to never give up. I can't imagine at 43 years of age losing everything I had and having to start all over again, and that was a life lesson that I'll never forget, and that he was extraordinary, and he did teach me a lot about real estate. And so I wanted to be in the real estate business because of my dad, and he was terrific. My first job out of school, I went to engineering school, and I got a degree in architecture. And my first job out of school was at a bank in Chicago. It was the Continental Illinois National Bank and Trust Company of Chicago, which at the time was the seventh largest bank in the country, and I think maybe first, second, or third in terms of outstandings in real estate banking. Our boss there was a guy by the name of Jim Harper, who's still alive, and Jim is an iconic real estate banker. Anybody who's been in the banking business, the real estate banking business in the last 30, 40, 50 years knows the name Jim Harper, and what he did in Chicago. And Jim not only taught us to be great business people, but quite frankly, because of where he worked, he opened up a Rolodex to us at the time that was unheard of. And so as I go through the customers that I had at the bank, it's hard to imagine. I say the names, people don't really believe it, but that's who they were. And they were the who's who of American real estate. So, and we were exposed at a very young age to some very complicated deals. It was also there was also a carryover of this, and this was 1978 through 82. So there was a carryover of problem real estate in the late 70s, and we had some big problems in 82. So, it was a tough time to be a banker. So we did a lot of workouts, a lot of distress deals. And so we learned a lot through difficulties. And then my third mentor is my current partner. And we've been together since, as I said, since 82. And that's Ron Weiser. And Ron's been a life mentor as well as a real estate mentor. And he retired from our business actively in 2001 as our first CEO. We've only had two. But we remain best of friends and partners, and without question, an extraordinarily influential mentor in shaping my career and shaping my outcome, financially and otherwise. So, I've been blessed. Those three guys were special human beings, and like I said, two are alive. I stay in touch with two. one quite frequently because he's my partner, and the other one, when I can. He lives out west. He lives out far west, and it's a blessing. I would not be here today without the influence of all three of those men, and for that I will be forever grateful. And do not for a minute take that for granted. I am completely grounded in understanding. Without their support, I wouldn't be here.
Hmm. So, what was the most influential event or events of your life?
Well, the most influential event in my life was marrying my wife, Paula. That's simply it. I mean, there's nothing else to say. She is my best friend. She's my, my wife, my girlfriend, my lover. She's everything to me. I mean, I don't have anything else if I don't have her. And we got married in '82. We've been together since '78, and that is far and away, without question, the single most influential element of my life.
Wow. And I know that on social media, you mention your wife quite a lot. And that just shows you how smart you are.
Well, I mean, there's that, but I also just tell you, man, I wouldn't know what to do without her. She's amazing.
Now, I feel the same way about my wife. Every now and then I get a little carried away and I get annoyed. But
Okay.
when I have a moment to think about it, I go, boy, am I fortunate.
Oh, that's
You know,
funny.
yeah,
That's funny.
it's true. And most of us have good marriages appreciate how fortunate we are. And in my case,
Absolutely.
I feel like she's got to be crazy being with me. So I don't
That's
really
funny.
understand it.
I'm sure it works
Sh-
fantastically both
Well,
ways.
that's what she says, but I don't see it. What is it that you find interesting about real estate, or challenging for that matter?
Yeah, I think for me, it's very creative. It's especially multifamily real estate. And we're in the business of buying essentially distressed assets or assets that have been at risk, and turning them into what the industry would refer to as quality Class B workforce housing. But when we get what we get and we buy what we buy, we're quite comfortable in buying somebody else's problems sometimes, and making them our good outcome. Now that isn't always the case, because sometimes you buy assets that are more stabilized, but by and large, we're looking to buy assets in the markets that we're in, that we can make a change, we can make a difference, we can add value. We're good renovators. So not only do we know how to operate well, but we know how to repair, rebuild, and fix assets extraordinarily well. I think we do it at a price that, since much of it's done internally, allows us to be profitable compared to our competitors. And then again, we do it ourselves because we're, like I said, we're a family-owned, privately held business. So there's not a lot of hoops that we have to jump through to impress people. We just have to really impress our customers, and so that's the single most and only important thing. If we do that, then we've done our job. So I find that to be very rewarding. And then I also, quite frankly, at this stage of my life, because I'm doing less of that myself directly, I'm more rewarded about seeing the people around me grow and take on more, and be not only more a part of it, but eventually, hopefully, because over time, all of it. So I guess my interactions with our people have come to the forefront as what I enjoy the most today.
So why doesn't that surprise me? It's not. Whoops! It's not just making money, but it's making money and having the self satisfaction of working with the people that you work with.
Yeah,
As
and
I see
and
it.
for us, by the way, the process has been a slow one. We never wanted to do this quickly, and for us, it's been a slow bake game. And so we spent an enormous amount of money reinvesting in our assets. So we're looking at really building a generational model. So it's not about profits today. It's about really not, today and into the future. And so there's a lot of ways that we could have cut corners, and we've tried real hard in all ways to not do that. And again, we've done it ethically, because we don't miss any payroll, and we don't miss mortgage payments, and we're very proud of that.
Well, ethics is a long term play.
Yeah, we
And
believe it is.
yeah, there are some people in real estate who are transactional in nature. And it's like, can I make money on this deal right now? You're a long term player. You've been in the business how long?
Uh, let's just say a long time.
Yeah, well, you don't want to talk about, I am older than you. And
Okay.
I probably shouldn't say this, but I'm in my 45th year as an attorney.
Okay. Well, that's pretty cool. That's
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, I guess so. I'm still doing it. I'm still here. So
I'm in my 43rd year as a real estate professional, so we're close.
yeah, we are close. You just look much younger and much better than me. Your hair's and you have more hair. So tell me, give me a story about your greatest real estate success.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if I have a story. I don't really have any story. Let's say, you know, uh, the multifamily turnaround business. Work the business of taking assets to a different place from where they started. May not be the most luxurious business. In the real estate industry. So, our stories are really in the trenches. And when I look at our portfolio today, and we've made a conscious effort to market dominate certain markets that we really wanted to be overly significant in terms of the influence. And so, like a market like the Universal Orlando market in Orlando, Florida, we've got 12 large apartment communities surrounding the park. It took us 25 years to create that assembly. And it's an assembly that nobody can get near, because not only in the size of the assembly, but also the geographic strength of the concentration of that assembly. So when I look at things like that, and we've done that over and over again in all of our core markets and places that we wanted to be, and that's that long game. I think we bought in that market, our first deal in '84. So it takes a while, but it doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, the cumulative effect of creating that market dominance with a portfolio like that is quite significant. And so you can't look at that 1, 2, 3, 5 years at a time. You have to look at it 10, 15, 20, 30 years at a time. And when I look back, I think we've done a very good job of assembling a generational quality workforce housing portfolio. And then we've also continued to invest in these buildings. So even though they're some of them are quite old or older, it's really not making a difference in terms of their customer appeal, because we're spending significant dollars to make them current. And so it's hard to really tell the relative age when you're inside one of our units. You may be in a 40-year-old building that is inside of it's brand new, and so the consumer view is different than what I'll call the historical age of the physical structure itself. So I think there's a lot of things there that as we look back, and again, that's part of the long game. We're real proud of the business we built, and the people that we have running it. We're real proud of that. I guess that's probably the most important thing that I could say.
Any failures?
Oh, gosh, every single, I mean, so many, financial and otherwise. Gosh, yeah, lost lots of money.
Yeah,
Oh my
no,
gosh.
if you've been around as long as you and I, and we're honest with ourselves, it may be unfortunate. Sometimes it seems that way, but uh, what we learn the most is from our failures,
Oh
or
wow.
at least in
Oh,
my case. And
oh my
I
gosh.
tell my
Yeah.
kids that they should be as fortunate to have as many failures as me.
Yeah. Well, that's a good lesson.
Yeah,
I agree with you.
absolutely.
I have a
So
long list. I have a long list.
out the door.
Yeah.
What, if anything, would you change about your career?
I wouldn't change a thing. I love it.
Good
Perfect
for you.
place. Very happy with everything. I don't think anything. I'm very, very happy.
Yeah, absolutely. And what are your thoughts in terms of the future of commercial real estate, particularly in light of the pandemic?
Yeah. I mean, I think if you have to have the conversation by asset class. And we by design exited retail real estate for reasons that were we thought were strategic and important to us pre-pandemic. Obviously, this was, we started our exit about 7 years ago and finished it about 3.5 years ago now, probably. So we were out before the pandemic. No, we had a few tag-ins, but they were really quite small in the context of the bigger, very significant retail holdings. We had, we had a 1 million square foot power center in Virginia, the largest power center in the state of Virginia. We had some assets that would have been crippling for us to carry into the retail world today, and certainly the pandemic even worse. So, I think retail is a different animal. I mean, while maybe there's local market retail that will have a purpose. The mall is certainly not something that will have much of a purpose going forward. I'm not sure what retail does going forward. And I think office is in a transition. I think you're going to see a return to office post-pandemic, but I'm not sure what kind of return. I mean, I think for our business, for example, we're already talking through what it looks like post-pandemic, and it looks nothing like what we left. A lot of our departments will continue to stay home just because they're actually more efficient in a home mode. And the people are happier. So, I think there's a need for a physical space so that we have a creative outlet to have people come together and join and connect. But it isn't going to be the same way that we left it. So I think, our office, if it's one example, will be quite different than the pre-pandemic office. And, multifamily, I think we're going to see a historic surge in rents that could be problematic because, quite frankly, we have a housing shortage in many of the markets throughout the country. So that surge in rent worries me. I mean, I think that we have an affordability crisis we have to be very sensitive to. So, but I don't know that we can avoid the surge in rents because we've had this economy that's been so tamped down, and now it's going to be let out and it's going to go boom. And, we're in a market like Orlando, Florida, that's been operating without a hospitality, tourism, and cruise ship and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All those businesses have been down. And now you're about to let them loose, fourth quarter of this year when everybody gets vaccinated. It's going to be a huge stress on the workforce, finding available workers. But certainly in our business, in the workforce housing business, I think we'll see a huge pressure on rents. While that some operators may view that as positively, I'm a little worried about it because I'm a little worried about the long-term feasibility of our industry unless we turn around and really begin to think about affordability, because if we don't handle it ourselves as an industry, it's going to be regulated for us.
How do you solve that problem?
Well, I think if you look at what's being built, it's this super A, class A, super luxury stuff. And I'm not in that business, so I don't know what those numbers mean. But it's not where the real need is. The real need is in my business. And so, we really need to build more affordable. We need to build more workforce, and we need to become creative in partnerships with cities and partnerships with municipalities to really think about how to do that. And we've got to do it because, quite frankly, the stress on the system is overwhelming. And if we just bury our heads in the ground and think that this isn't our problem as owners, it is our problem. And so it's not going away. So we better be part of the solution. And we've got to take an aggressive stance in our own communities where we live and figuring out how to move that needle forward on affordability. It's a big deal.
Yeah, it's interesting. Some of the work that I've gotten involved in recently, it really come as a surprise to me, is in the hospitality area. That I'm actually involved in loans and purchases.
Sure.
Yet the experts that I've been speaking to are saying this is kind of a travesty what's going on. But there is an opportunity out there in hospitality. Would you consider getting involved in hospitality or even getting back in retail again at some point in time?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things the older we get and the more we learn lessons we've learned, I think, we know one thing, we know how to do one thing really well, and we're extraordinary at it. And to venture out into something like hospitality, that's a specialty, that's a business. I don't even pretend to know anything about it. And so I would be a miserable failure. The ideas that are out there, floating out there about converting hospitality to affordable housing, I've heard many of them. I think some of them are very good. And I think you'll see more of that because I think like we have too much retail. I think we probably have in many markets too much hospitality. So I think that's good. So I think that's very good. I mean, I know we've seen a lot of that in Central Florida where we've seen older, hospitality that's not really competitive anymore, that could be used in a different way. And so adaptive reuse as affordable rental housing is a terrific use. But, I think it comes back. I mean, does it come back with different owners? Sure. Does it come back in a different way? Probably not too different a way. I think people are going to start vacationing again like they did before. I just think that the owners will be different, and there's some very powerful people out there that know what they're doing and got a lot of money and will be well positioned for that upturn.
Sure. Is there any other final comments that you'd like to make?
Yeah, I think I'm very optimistic. I'm excited about what this post-pandemic period looks like. I think that we've got a very seasoned team in Washington that right now is rolling out some things that are very effective on the pandemic side. I know in our case here in Florida, we live in Vero Beach, Florida. We've done some good things. We've vaccinated about half of the over 65-year-old population as of yesterday, and we're going to begin to go down. I think 55 and over or 60 and over beginning in a few weeks. So, once we work our way down that ladder and get everybody vaccinated, the world will be different. And even if we have to do multiple vaccinations and, different strains and themes of the disease, it will happen. I mean, look at what we've accomplished as a country. This is amazing that in such a short period of time, we've conquered this thing and are putting it behind us. And I think we've got the disciplines in place too, with all the different things we've done as a company: social distancing, wearing masks, being very careful on how we interact with our customers. I think we're a lot smarter as business people today than we were 12 months ago.
Yeah, I've been watching and reading about previous pandemics going back to the 14th century, and it strikes me that while there are some people who don't think that COVID-19 is quite as deadly as, say, the Spanish flu in 2000 in 1918, not 2018. I suspect that had COVID-19 gone around, a century, 2 or 3 centuries ago, it would have been much worse.
Sure.
And the medical technology and the advances, just getting the vaccines
It's
has been
amazing.
incredible. Yeah, it really is amazing. I
God bless them.
anticipate.
Yeah, God
I've
bless them.
had
We have
my.
amazing people on this planet.
Yeah, have you had your vaccination shot yet?
I have not, but I'm looking forward to getting it very soon. And Paula and
No.
I have been very disciplined, and we've run a very disciplined business. And I'm happy to report that there's nobody sick in my business this morning, which is terrific.
Good, good. My wife and I got our vaccinations last week, and we go back for our third on March 11th, and then we're planning pretty much to stay away from everybody for another 2 weeks after that. But
Oh wow.
in the meantime, we've been working so hard that we're going, maybe that trip that we were supposed to do in early April of 2020, where
Yeah.
we were supposed to take a cruise in England
Oh
and
wow.
Amsterdam, etc., which
Awesome.
was canceled, and we got a full refund. Maybe, maybe not a cruise that we would schedule at the latter part of this year, but perhaps a trip to England, where I
Awesome.
hopefully would get to play golf in Scotland and Ireland and
How cool.
England and all of that. So yeah, we're actually starting to think about getting out of the pandemic because we've been pretty good sequestering ourselves and,
Yeah. No, I
knock on
know.
wood, staying healthy.
That's good. That's important.
So Albert, thank you very much. I really
My
hope
pleasure.
that sometime in the future, near future, we'll have an opportunity to meet again. It's been,
Absolutely.
I think we've spoken a couple of times and we've met a couple of times, but not in person since the first time we met. And maybe we could, during the summer, don't you go back up to Ann Arbor?
I do, and I go
Yeah.
mostly in Saugatuck, Michigan, and Lake Michigan.
Yeah. Well, I expect you to take me out sailing if I can get up there.
All right, good.
All right. Listen, you take care, stay
Thank you.
healthy, and
You
thank
too.
you very much. And
Thank
best
you,
to your
Howard.
wife.
Wonderful. Great seeing you
You take
and your
care.
audience as well. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye bye.